The evil dare not discussed is children and what they're doing to children every single day in ways and in means and through devices and tortures and inexplicable behavior that nobody wants to hear about or mention. It is the evil dare not discussed. And it sounds very almost dramatic. It's absolutely true. And that is what keeps it going. The fact that we're not talking about it. I promise you, I came upon something the other day. I promise you, if I saw, or if I could read to you, just read to you, forensic reports, just no pictures, just describe to you what happens to children, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe you share DNA with these people. You wouldn't believe what it is that's happening. You would not be able to fathom. You would not be able to function. You would not be able to even imagine what goes on and what actually happens right now. You can't. It is beyond explication. It is beyond anything anybody can understand. And that is the reason why it's happening. And we talk about it euphemistically. And we have the squatter in chief. We spend more time talking about this stupid Biden, Hunter Biden nonsense with the laptops and all the other kind of. Who cares about that? Why is that even remotely possible? Do you understand what's happening? It's the part which is something that we don't want to really even deal with. We have this idea that somehow mankind is good, that we're really not capable of this. Oh, yes, we are. I have been, as of today, with some other particular matters, legal and matters that I'm dealing with, I want to just stop and show the world, look at what's happening. Do you have any idea? No. And I can't. And one of the reasons why we can't do this is because of the sensibilities of YouTube, and I understand that. The fact that this would absolutely traumatize people. If I were to go through and say, I'm not making this up. Now, if I mention, trans this or that, or if I am scabrous and use, kind of gutter language, that's okay. I can be sexually stupid when it comes to various things. But what I can't do, and this is incredible, what I cannot do is tell you the truth. I can't. What I can't do is to explain to you the horrors of this. Marshall McLuhan said years ago that little lies are hard to keep under wraps, but big lies and big horrors are easy because of your incredulity. If you knew what happened, and I'm telling you, we are under rules. There are rules here, YouTube rules, that prevent, and I'm not arguing with them. I'm not saying, well, it shouldn't be like that. And that's why I have to have a private channel so I can go through it and explain it. When I was a prosecutor, the thing that got me the most out of everything, in fact, later on as well, but in private practice, but what I could not believe was what happened to children. I could not believe it. The horrors. And what is happening right now is at levels which you can't believe, because then it was almost random. But now it is systematic to the point where it's almost organized crime. These are cartels and the like. I want you to listen to me very carefully. I want you to listen. And I want to take a breather right now. This is rough stuff. This is rough. This is rough. But it's part of what we do. I was talking the other day about some wonderful YouTube channels that Mr. Beast and others who talk about fun things, and I understand, and believe me, I understand. There are these wonderful folks who like to see the best part of life, but I don't. I can't do that. Let me also tell you, my friends, that we're getting to the end of the month, and now is the time for you to take advantage of this special $200 off a 3-month, 90-day emergency food pack from our friends at My Patriot Supply. This is a 25-year shelf life. 25-year shelf life. The most incredible prepared, durable foods in an absorbent, oxygen absorbent, reusable packets and packets, and they're stacked. 120 pounds of food, no MSG, 21 varieties that you are going to need, that people are saying, yes, I understand it, because I'm sorry to say, this is another thing we don't want to talk about, the idea that one day the United States could be in the position where food emergencies occur. Not because necessarily there is no food, but that stores are closed. The ability to get the food to you is interrupted. That's what we're talking about. Preparewithlionel.com. There we go. My God. Oh. See, they don't want me to do this. They don't want me to talk about this. They don't want me to talk about this because of the subject matter. I was having some wonderful little experiments with using iPhones as cameras. And anyway, to make a long story short, you don't want to hear about that. But they don't want us to talk about it. You know that, right? They don't want us to talk about it. They really don't. Nobody does. Nobody does. You got that? Nobody wants to hear this. What do people look like? Tomorrow, I'm going to be talking about somebody who is the face of horror. And the reason why I think this is important, lest you be confused in your own right, but unless you understand the depravity of these people, you don't understand it. Now, let me start off with this, and I want you to understand this and see if you can work with me on this. Number one, the number of people that we have listening right now and the people who will be listening later on, people who are going to be and who have had something like this happen to them, is mind-boggling. The number of people who have been affected as a child, the people who have been affected as a child right here are without anything you can even imagine. You understand what I'm saying? Right now, there are people who had a relative, an uncle, usually a male, might have been in the case of a teacher, a coach, priest. And by the way, Catholic priests, that number has dropped to the point of almost non-existent today compared to the 50s and 60s. I'm not in any way making any excuses for them. But the number of people are beyond anything you can imagine. The number of people. And this has been with you for your whole life. Now let's just imagine something. Now let me just say this. There's no such thing as degree of violation. There are some people who have been thoroughly, horribly, terribly affected, where there's been gross, grave, and permanent physical damage, physical scarring, physical anomalies and the like. And then there are other folks, and this is important, there are other folks who have said, well, it was rough, but I'm able to move past it. Maybe it was once, maybe it was twice. And I'm not trying to in any way minimize this, but there are degrees that people have suffered. Degrees in more ways than you can imagine. And then there's what we're talking about right now. Organized trafficking, cartels. Did you read the story we talked about these two women from China who are a part of rings? And whether the Chinese government's a part of it is another story. But this is bigger than anything you can imagine. And what drives me more upset than you can also imagine is when I hear people consistently and repeatedly talk about this stupid Hunter Biden nonsense. Why are we talking all the time about Hunter Biden? Why? And this is important. If I show you a child crying, a dog yelping, I don't know what gradations of experience, I would think that the first thing you would think that you would hold in the highest would be a child crying. That's wrong. It's dogs. People care more about animals than children. Absolutely. I don't know what this is. I have no idea why. And I love animals. I think they're terrific. I don't eat them. I think they're great. But a child is more important. A child is critical. A child it's human. And humans are superior to animals, theoretically, on the phylogenetic tree. I'm not so sure anymore. But there's a handful of these people who keep cramming down our throat this stupid Hunter Biden story. Why in the name of God do people think this is so critical? Please tell me. Please tell me. What is it? How does this work? Why is this even remotely as interesting as people say it is? Why? Does this make any sense to you? Do you understand it? Do you grasp it? I don't. I honest to God, I don't see why it's even. What do you want from this? What is it that you want? Right now in Cleveland, there are about 1,100 kids who are just missing. They're just nabbed. They're not here anymore. There was the old case of, not the old case, but Eitan Pates. You might have remembered this. Eitan Pates. This was the young man who went through this horror. He was the inspiration for the picture on the milk bottle or milk carton. He was the inspiration for this. That was one kid. One. And then before we knew it, they were kidnapped. In the old days, kids were kidnapped for ransom. That does, Lindbergh and that sort of thing. Well, then it got a little bit different. Then kids were taken for different reasons. They were molested, they were abused, but they were taken and they were nabbed and ultimately disposed of and dispatched by sick people. But now we're talking about cartel level areas. And we're talking about the exploitation and sexploitation, if you will, of kids individually. And we haven't even mentioned a certain harvesting of, think of a child as a chop shop. This is what we can't talk about. You see, because nobody wants to talk about this. But they'll talk about that stupid Hunter Biden. I know these people who think they're so cool because they have the latest information on Hunter Biden. And I'm thinking to myself, do you not know what's going on here? The first thing in this stupid debate tonight, or whatever it is the first thing I would say is, what's happening to children? How does this thing work? How does anybody not see this? Do you know what's happening? Where's Sean Penn? We talk about Ukraine. Do you know the number of people? Do you know? Oh, you're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. The surrogacy, sometimes contractual, sometimes not so contractual, but the surrogacy that is going on in Ukraine because they want blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Russian, Ukrainian-looking babies and mothers and children. Don't kid yourself. As genetics indicate, and as we're going to see, blondes are say goodbye to that. And there is a premium of this. And this is, again, nobody will talk about this. Nobody will talk about areas and cultures where bleaching and white and faint and for something that is so reviled, for the dreaded white person, the white people, and they're white. The word white is used every 5 seconds to refer to some old white man or some old white. White is the pejorative. You would be surprised the premium that it has in many aspects, many areas. Now, you're not supposed to say this. You're not supposed to think this. You're not supposed to experience this. You're not supposed to even hint that this is possible. And what do you think? Where do you think those children are? If there is something to be made, if there is, I promise you, if somebody says, blue-eyed, blonde babies are really, that's it. You'll have them harvested. You will have factories like Purdue chickens. You'll have human harvesting, and it sounds bizarre, and that's when it's true. And it's what McLuhan said. It's the incredulity. You won't be able to think that. Oh, that can't be. That's what protects it. That's it, because you can't imagine it. Have you ever heard about, I don't know if it's China, but certain hair, the hair market, certain forms of hair, very, very thin or brown or black or sturdy or smooth or silky or whatever the hell it is. If there's something that you want, humans will say, we will get this for you. And none of the people that I'm talking about are doing this because of any kind of sexual predilection on their part. It's money. It's trafficking. It doesn't, do you understand this? It's happening here. Kids, by the way, do you know the information or the trafficking, again, in sextortion, kids who are playing games online. And let me ask you something. Do you ever hear anything about this? Yes or no? Do you ever hear anything about it? Does anybody ever talk to you about it? Do you ever hear anybody online talk about it? There are some folks who love to, how do I say this? There are people who love to I guess for lack of a better word, they love to exaggerate it to the point where it's almost schmaltzy. There was a while there, And there was these despicable people who loved the word pedophile. They loved it. I think they got turned on by it. I know the word, not the concept. And they thought, oh, this is great. And if your numbers go up, that's where you're going. If one day somebody says you're talking about soft serve ice cream and your numbers go up, they're going to devote themselves to soft serve ice cream. That is how social media also work on directing the vector of information as well, by congratulating people for what they say. Do you hear what I'm saying? Congratulating people and helping them for what they say. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does this make sense to you? I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes a lot of sense, because that's precisely what's happening right now. We are, how do we say this? We are looking at a depravity that is, it makes, put it this way, it makes drug trafficking, it's not even in the same league. Let me see if I can explain something to you. This is the drug, okay? I made this. I went to Bolivia, wherever the hell I went. I went there and I got this. And here is my drug. And I put it together and it cost me X. It cost a lot of people to make it. I had to buy people off. But here it is. Here is my product. This is it. And I sell it. And I make a lot of money. And that's it. And there's only one thing you can do. You can sell it. You can step on it. You can divide it. You can dilute it. You can separate it. You can do whatever you want to it. But that's it. And once I give it away, once I sell it, that's done. I'm done with it. But take this thing, and depending upon it, it grows. And it starts off being very immature, almost newborn, if you will, and it grows and it changes. And I can sell it and they give it back. It's a drug that I sell and they give it back. I own it. You see what I'm saying? It's a drug. People love this. And I say, okay, you can use it. Now give it back. And you're going to pay a lot of money to use it. Do you like that? Yeah. Well, you got to buy it again. And then, as this thing becomes older and ages, it's another market. And we have to replenish this market with newer ones, like a conveyor belt of humanity. And I just keep doing it. And I use it over and over and over and over and over until it gets, either I kill it or it loses it ages out or whatever it is, or it loses its prime. And let me just stop right there. And then we have to look at perhaps maybe the component parts of it. And I'll just leave it at that. This thing goes on like you cannot believe. And here's the best part. Nobody knows who this is. This thing that I keep selling, there's no record of it. Who are you? I don't know. Is it stolen? I don't know. Who are you? I don't know. Does anybody ever ask you to prove your kid? Let's say you're walking down the street and you're with your aunt, or not your aunt, your cousin or your nephew or your niece or your son or your kid. Anybody ever ask you, who is that kid? What is the kid's relation to you? I don't know. How do we know that's yours? I don't know. Where'd you get that kid? I don't know. I don't know. Now leave me alone. You're driving, you say, hey, how are you? This is my daughter, this is my whatever. The kids are meaningless. They're fungible. They have no identity. They have no, nobody protects them. Nobody cares. They have they're not, obviously the age of majority, they can't do anything. Nobody cares about it. They are abused to the point they're just disposable. They don't, and nobody knows who they are. And they're sold in this country, and it goes on in this country. And by the way, with all due respect to Sound of Freedom and all these other people, screw that. There's people here. Bad choice of words. Let me say it again. Forget that. This is happening here. It's happening here. Do you know who people who are selling their own kids? Oh, you don't want to hear that one. Oh, no, 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 no. You can't believe. You cannot believe what is happening. And you know why? And here's the best part. Now, when I say you, I don't mean you, but I mean you. You're like this. No, 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 no. Don't talk about it. No, no, please. La, 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 la. Please don't. I can't take this. I can't take this. I don't know how to handle this. I really don't like this, and I really don't care. I wish you kind of wouldn't bring this up, because I'm kind of funny about this, okay? I'm kind of funny about this, and I don't want you to bring this up because it makes me feel weird, and that's exactly the problem that we have. Do you hear what I'm saying? That's the problem that we have. Now, I know people don't want to hear this. I know they don't. They'd rather have somebody, and this is my favorite part, and with all due respect, and I say this, I'm going to say this. They'd rather have somebody sitting around, sometimes looking, pardon my French, like a bimbette, sitting around, plastered, made up, to speak about this almost in a way it's like, are you, what exactly is your take? You're not really going to I don't think you really understand what's going on. Maybe, and by the way, let me also tell you something. There are so many people in this country who are so sexually screwed up, it's not even funny, and it manifests itself in ways you can't even fathom, okay? You can't fathom what we're talking about. That's all I'm going to say to you. So I've taken more of your time. I know that this is not what people want to say, but it is the evil dare not discussed. And I am going to keep doing this, and Mrs. Ellen and I are going to keep doing this. And I want it to be the top of mind. I want to have, whenever you have a debate, we'll talk about the United Auto Workers, maybe 30th on the line. Maybe we'll talk about the writer's strike, maybe 25th. Maybe Ukraine, that's up there. But number one at every debate on everybody's talk is going to be, what are we doing with children? What is happening? And that covers everything. When that happens, then maybe we have succeeded. I doubt it, though, because Americans don't want to hear about this. And I want to keep talking to you about this, because you have to understand how vile and inhumane humans are. They're worse. Animals don't do this, okay? Let me leave it at that. My friends, thank you. Let me say again, we're getting to the end of the month. Preparewithlionel.com. I know when you say this to people, they look at you and they're saying, why would we ever want to have food? Like, are we some third world country? I mean, what do you think this is, Hunger Games? I mean, we've had some bad, George Floyd. But, I mean, the stores open up and they'll be closed for a little bit. Uh-huh. Really? You want to bet on that? You sure about that? Preparewithlionel.com. Go right now and do what thousands and thousands of very smart and wise people are doing, because they know exactly what's going to happen. And I don't want to be Mr. Doomsayer, because a lot of people really get off on this. But do you have any faith in this system? Is there anything that you can possibly tell me? You say, no, that will not happen. Wrong. Preparewithlionel.com. All right, dear friends, have a great day. And by the way, also, I want you to make sure you go to Mrs. L's YouTube channel at Lynn's Warrior. Sign up right now. She's got an incredible video on the official White House squatter. It's one of her best. That's coming up very soon. So make sure you get and hit that little bell for mine and hers as well. All right, dear friends, see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Don't ever change. I mean that sincerely. And remember these words, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.